Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday morning now. It's still early. It's like 6:15. So it's May 9th. And Wednesday mornings are my busy morning. I've got huge meetings that start at 7:30, but I wanted to get this out too. So we're gonna skip car stuff today, and we're gonna go right to the business side. So I'm gonna continue my charts for a little bit. So what you see here is, I believe what we have is, today's our third installment. Yesterday we talked about the environment you surround yourself with matters, and then a couple of sessions ago we talked about you are a product of your own decisions. So this next one is, today's is the third one, and that is success requires momentum. So again, this is the third in a series. Didn't even know it until I wrote this down, so I'll try to be better about organizing my videos, and I do need to go back and do that. So there's really 4 or 5 things we want to talk about. So we're going to talk about consistency, momentum, direction, progress, and then results. So the first one today, is consistency. And so what I want to talk about to you with consistency is try to make as few break points in your life or in your progress as possible. And what I mean is, if you can, from high school to college, from college to an advanced degree, from an advanced degree to your job, whatever phase you're in, and whatever set of phases you decide you need to go through. Not everybody does the high school, college, advanced degree job. I get that. But whatever your path is, what you want to try to focus on is, did yesterday's activities help me today, and to today's activities help me with tomorrow's? And that's either a daily, a monthly, or a yearly question. And so if you're real young, if you're still in the high school phase of this, just be thinking about that. Just think, hey, am I learning things today? Am I starting to get my thoughts together for what I want my next phase to look like? Is it going to college? If so, what kind of part of life do I want to go through? What subject matters, what calls me, where do I want to go if I go to college? And if not, if you're going right to the job, that's totally fine too. But when you're in the job phase, I know the big name people, the people that catch all the news, a lot of times they started their business in college or they didn't go to college. That's not the path I took, that's not the path I know. So I can only really talk to the path I followed. So when you get into your job, whatever path you use, when you get to your job, what I'd recommend you do is you focus on 3 things while you're in those jobs. And for me, it took 8 years. I came out of college, in '86, and I didn't start DHA until '94. So for 8 years, I focused on these things, developing skills, becoming very good at some aspect of my job. And again, it was in computer science. And so I took a lot of the kind of the shit jobs, the jobs that other people in my companies didn't want. So that helped me build the second thing I'd advise you to worry about, and that's your reputation. So get good at something and build a reputation, and sometimes that's going to take months or even years. Again, it took me 8 years after college to build that reputation and skill set. And then the third thing I would consider, I really consider critical for you working on, is your relationships, your network, that human-to-human contact. And I don't mean just friends. I mean business associates, business owners, senior people, advanced people. Build a network of professionals, people who do what you want to do, people who behave or have success like you want to have. You need to build those relationships. So whatever path you do it, I recommend you get into your job and make sure you're building skills, reputation, and network. And that can take years, so just don't forget that. Again, I know it's one of my repeating themes with you is, be patient. Last times we want it now, we want it next week, we want it next month. And sometimes these things, true success takes years. And that's kind of the point of this video is, consistency, builds kind of what will be the next topic, which is momentum. I want to give you a couple examples. One is from my life. I went to college thinking I was going to be a park ranger, if you can believe that. I'd climbed Mount Rainier several times, and I was getting ready to become a park ranger with the National Forest Service. So I took a degree in geology. After my first course in geology, I didn't enjoy it much, and I started to research salaries of park rangers, and I realized it just wasn't for me. So, really my first year of college, I did a complete restructure, and I went and signed up for computer engineering and computer science, and spent the next 3.5 years doing that. I'll give you another example of breaking consistency. I was having a drink at the Annapolis Mall, and my bartender was talking to me, and she mentioned she had been going to college but now wasn't. And I said, well, did you finish? Or I said, no, I was going for accounting, but I didn't like it, so I dropped out. And so she was in college to go be an accountant, didn't like it, completely quit school and left, became a bartender, and is now pondering maybe she wants to be a massage therapist. That's the kind of consistency break that doesn't help. You start completely over. You remove all the progress you made up till that point, completely stop it, and do a complete restart. And really not even restart, right? You're kind of in a holding pattern, pondering, thinking. I know from the 1960s through today, there's this whole concept of I need to find myself, I need to find my dream, I need to find my goals. I'm gonna wander in the wilderness until then. If that's your style, that's great. It's just very hard, at least in my eyes, to see consistency and momentum if you do that. So that's consistency. The next thing we're going to talk about for a minute is momentum. So momentum, if you get into that consistent mode we just talked about, where yesterday's activities help you today and today's activities help you tomorrow, then that really starts to build up momentum behind you. And beware of getting bored. If you got, this year looks a lot like this, last year looks a lot like this year is looking like it's going to be a lot repeated tomorrow or next year. Just be careful that even if you're on track, you can kill yourself because you get bored. You want things to happen quicker, so you start to look around. I know in my CEO councils we've talked about, beware the shiny penny syndrome, because CEOs have this problem all the time. Business owners have this problem all the time. It's always easier to go do something new than fix what you're sitting in now. So just make sure you don't get bored and you don't get drawn or distracted into a shiny penny syndrome. I'll give you a couple more examples. At DHA, at my company, several years ago, I got distracted. We were going to try to get into video teleconferencing, or VTC. And we opened up a whole division of the company. We started heading down that road. We hired people. We started getting vendor relationships in place, and we blew up about a year of the company. It really distracted us, and it really didn't go anywhere. So I ended up having to kill it. And so, I got distracted. I got a little bored. I wanted to try something else, and it caused a year of stalling here as we focused on that and not our core business. Another one, I tried for the last 3 years to be a day trader, and I love the market. I've got a bit of an addictive personality, and the return on time just wasn't worth it. It wasn't that we were losing money, but I can't make enough money day trading given the time it requires to let it compete with time here at the company or with my family. So, but I put a lot of time, a lot of travel, a lot of learning, a lot of classes, and a lot of real-time day trading. It's just not worth it to me. I still love it, but I don't do it anymore. It's just not worth the time. And at my phase in life, I don't know if that works for you yet, but in my life, return on time is the most important thing. So if you had consistency, you start to build momentum, you start to get some direction, right? And it helps you. So direction, if you're able to do the consistency plus momentum, it provides direction. It helps you keep you on course. You've got enough. It's kind of the analogy is you're doing 60 miles an hour in a car going straight. It takes very little energy from you. You don't have to turn it. You don't need the accelerator or the brake. You don't have to put a lot of thought into it. You've got momentum. You've You've got consistency, you've got momentum, and now that's helping you provide direction. If you want to turn, if you want to change course, if you want to slow down or speed up, you know, it takes action on your part. So just, you know, get consistent, allow that to build momentum, and then let that momentum help you keep you on course. You know, the other story that I always think about is, you know, when we were going to the moonshots, 250,000-mile trip, and the hardest part is the first 50 miles. And so if you're doing complete restarts of your life, it'd be like launching launching the rocket and then bringing it back to Earth and sitting there, and then launching the rocket and then letting it come back to Earth. You're doing the hardest part over and over and over again, and that can get demoralizing very quickly. So again, that's the consistency equals momentum equals direction. So just keep that in mind. Try not to do resets. It's like taking the hardest part of your rocket launch and starting it over again. So really, the last part is progress, okay? And progress, you get to see progress now. If you do consistent and you get the momentum and it helps you stay in direction, it's much easier to drive 100 miles if you go straight than going back and forth, zigging and zagging. And so you'll start to see, if you can get that direction that's backed up by your momentum, you'll actually start to see results coming in, and eventually results starts coming in quicker than if you continually shift back and forth. And that's kind of how you start to get ahead of people. You know, whether you can compare yourself to peers or other companies or people around you or family members. The way you start to excel, the way you start to separate yourself, is you use that consistent momentum direction to go farther. And you know, everyone's got the same 24 hours. Everybody has the same 365 days. Those that separate themselves do so by allowing that direction to keep you on course, to keep you focused. You're gonna get off course. It's gonna happen. So the other thing you have to think about is, when you get off course, reevaluate where you want to go and get yourself back on course. Don't stop. Don't get despair. Don't get depressed and just cease all activity. And then you got to start the whole momentum thing over again. You know, sometimes you're always off course. So you just make a little correction and you're back on course. And a couple months later, you're a little bit back off course. Just get good at making small corrections to get you back on course. Don't stop the momentum. So this whole concept, it comes out of a book called Good to Great. Good to Great has this concept of I think it's a 1,000-pound flywheel. And when you first start spinning it, it is hard. But if you can get it just moving a little bit on its own, you can then, your pressure, your attempt, your energy adds to it. Eventually, this 1,000-pound wheel starts spinning on its own, and the same energy you're applying to it actually makes it go quicker. And that concept worked for me, and it's something I still use in my life today. So just think about every time you get this monster thing moving called your life towards your dreams, and then you stop it, you've got to apply all that energy to restart it. So that's kind of where this concept, if you want to read it, I recommend it. I mean, Good to Great, it's a great book. It's followed up by a second one called Great by Choice. We've talked about that one a little bit, but those are great concepts, and they've helped my life out immensely. So really, I mean, I wrote down results, but it's really back to this lead-in slide. Okay, so consistency, momentum, direction, progress, and then you start to see results. So please keep that in mind. We're at 14 minutes. I'm going to get out of here. I hope this helps, and we'll talk to you later, you guys. Have a great Wednesday. Bye.